The Twitter layoffs are happening today, right now, Friday, November 4th, 2022. How did they decide who gets canned and who stays, and how many people will be fired and how many will get to keep their jobs? We don't know. First, Musk said he would lay off 75% of Twitter's 7,500 employees. Then it was not 75%. Nobody currently knows, and the whole process has been so chaotic that your guess is as good as mine. But we do know that today all Twitter offices are closed, all employee ID access cards have been disabled, and by the end of the day, employees should receive an email on their Twitter email account if they keep their job, and an email to their personal email if they're fired.
Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
But here's what I think we do know. It's not gonna work. And in this video, I will explain exactly why Musk's layoff will not work as planned, and why layoffs almost always cost more money than they save. If you've been following Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, it's very easy to conclude that the man has painted himself into a corner. First, he signed an agreement to buy Twitter for $44 billion, a price most observers agree is way too high. Then he tried to go back on that deal, but was sued by Twitter and then forced to buy it anyway, at the original price. Now, Musk is rich, understatement of the year, but most of his wealth is in Tesla stock, which he can't or won't sell. So he has had to borrow a ton of money to buy Twitter, which means that he and Twitter now have to pay huge amounts of interest to pay back those loans. This means that Musk is forced to increase revenue and cut costs at Twitter. Now, his plans to increase revenue have been equally chaotic. First, it was $20 to be a certified user, and then when Stephen King, of all people, complained, it was suddenly $8. For which features? What do you get for those $8? No one currently knows. But that's not really my area of expertise, so I'll let other people take that part of it apart. I want to focus on his attempts to cut costs at Twitter, which of course had to involve layoffs. US companies love layoffs. One article even wrote that layoffs have become a favorite export of US businesses to the rest of the world. This in spite of the fact that making layoffs easier actually hurts a national economy. So yesterday, only 1 week after Musk took over, the company announced, you guessed it, layoffs. The announcement starts and ends nicely enough. In an effort to place Twitter on a healthy path, we will go through the difficult process of reducing our global workforce on Friday. We recognize that this will impact a number of individuals, but this action is unfortunately necessary. We acknowledge that this is an incredibly challenging experience to go through, whether or not you are impacted. This might give you the impression that Musk actually feels bad for the thousands of people who are about to lose their jobs, but I don't think he does. If he did give a damn, he would not have shown up at Twitter's HQ on his first day with a big grin on his face carrying a bathroom sink.
Just like letting us and what was sinks in. You just can't help it, that's okay.
Why a sink? Well, according to the Know Your Meme website, this is a reference to a 2014 meme that says, let that sink in. Musk is about to cost thousands of people their jobs, and it's fairly safe to say that he does not care. Or at the very least, that when given the choice between A, being empathetic and acknowledging the human cost of his actions, or B, trolling people with stale memes, Musk will reliably choose to troll, no matter how juvenile the actual joke is. That probably explains about 60% of his tweets over the last few years. Many Musk fans and conservatives actually delight in the pain he is inflicting and are cheering him on to do more damage. Now, I personally don't believe that Musk is consciously trying to be cruel here. I think he's just oblivious and immature. But here's the worst part. While these layoffs will hurt thousands of people, they will not work as Musk hopes, because research clearly shows that you cannot fire your way to profitability. Jeffrey Pfeffer has written an excellent article called Lay Off the Layoffs, where he says that according to the research, much of the conventional wisdom about downsizing like the fact that it automatically drives a company's stock price higher or increases profitability, turns out to be wrong. Why? Because layoffs are super costly. Here are just some of the reasons why. Severance pay. You don't just stop paying people when you fire them. They can have accrued months of severance pay that you still have to pay them. Low morale and risk-averse survivors. If Musk wants to transform Twitter's business model, he will probably need employees to be engaged and creative to come up with new solutions. But studies clearly show that layoffs make employees, even those who are not fired, less engaged in the business and more risk averse. They will do anything not to be the next ones fired. Potential lawsuits. Twitter employees have already announced a class action lawsuits over the layoffs. Sabotage from aggrieved employees or former employees. It's easy to imagine that somebody who was super bitter about these layoffs could sabotage Twitter either from the outside or, if they were not fired, from the inside of the organization. Loss of institutional memory and knowledge. How many Twitter employees will be fired, costing Twitter crucial business knowledge? Diminished trust in management. It's hard for employees to implement the vision of management if employees don't trust management. And I can definitely understand if Twitter's remaining employees do not trust Musk very much. And finally, reduced productivity. All of this together means that the remaining employees are likely to be way less productive than they were before. Pfeffer concludes, layoffs don't even reliably cut costs. So yeah, this layoff is probably going to cost Twitter more money than it saves them. Good job, Elon. Of course, layoffs are sometimes unavoidable. And in a Harvard Business Review article, Pfeffer's longtime collaborator, Bob Sutton, outlines 4 points that are required to make them actually work. Number one, that the company explains the layoffs in detail ahead of time. And in this case, the scope of the layoffs is completely unclear and they were announced 1 day in advance. 2, the company explains the business case for the layoffs in detail. It really doesn't seem like Musk has a business case yet, and if he has not shared it with anyone else. 3, they give affected employees choices over how they experience the closing. There's been no choice here. I do not see that happening in any way. And 4, the company expresses human concern, both in public and in private, to affected employees and community officials. You might notice that it says nothing in here about bathroom sinks. And here's another thing. How did they decide who to lay off? It's only been a week since Musk took over. So there's no way anyone has had time to analyze in detail which employees are performing the best, are in key roles, or have essential knowledge or skills that Twitter cannot afford to lose. Is it random? Is it the people with the highest salaries? Are they firing all the newest employees? Either way, it's deeply problematic, especially because as far as I can tell, the laid off employees will not be allowed back at work to hand over their work to the remaining employees. Here's another burning question. How is Twitter even going to operate when half of the employees are gone? I can't know what Musk is thinking, but I have a sneaking suspicion that he's going to try to make the remaining employees work longer hours to make up for the lost resources. We know that Musk is a huge fan of overwork. In one interview, he fawned over the work ethic of his Chinese factory workers. There's just a lot of super talented, hardworking people in China. They won't just be burning the midnight oil, they will be burning the 3 a.m. oil. They won't even leave the factory. Is that how he plans to make up for all the laid off employees? Maybe. Some Twitter teams are reportedly already working 12-hour days to meet deadlines set by Musk. Here's the thing though, that's not gonna work either. The research is incredibly clear that permanent overwork actually lowers worker output, especially for knowledge workers, which would probably describe the vast majority of Twitter's staff. Also, and this is very clear in the research, permanent overwork is bad for workers' health and their private lives. I have a whole 90-minute video on all the reasons that overwork sucks and what to do about it. Got a link to it in the doobly-doo. This is where having a union would have been pretty damn handy for Twitter's employees. It'll be very interesting to see how this goes over with Twitter employees who work in countries that have unions and actual serious worker protections. To make it worse, Musk is also forcing Twitter employees back to the physical office because of course he is, despite zero evidence that people are less productive working from home. Even in the face of all of this chaos, Musk's fans are of course completely unshakable in their face that all of this is according to plan. I've seen them serve up 3 arguments. First, they say it's not about money for Musk, he's protecting free speech. He just wants Twitter to be a free speech platform. And indeed, Musk said as much in an incredibly fawning interview with Chris Anderson from TED. Many Musk fans just can't wait for him to get in there and fire the people responsible for content moderation and fact-checking so Twitter can become a true free speech zone. Here's the problem though, while all of this might have been about freedom of speech for Musk at first, given the huge amount of debt he took on, it is now also very, very much about money. It just has to be. The second argument I've seen from the true Musk believers is that Musk is a genius marketer. All of the trolling and conflicting messages is just to generate buzz. Just look, I'm talking about him now. And personally, I think that anyone who praises Musk as a brilliant PR man should be forced to watch the launch of his robot project on repeat, where they had somebody in a bad robot suit dancing really badly. After you've watched that a few times, watch the video where they try to prove that the Cybertrucks were unbreakable.
Sure? Yeah. Oh my God. Well, maybe that was a little too hard. Sure.
Oh, man.
Turns out they were not. The third argument I've seen from the Musk fans is, don't worry, he has a plan, all will be revealed. And yeah, maybe Musk does have a genius plan for Twitter and I'm just too dumb to see it. Who knows? Here is what we do know. Musk has already cleared out all of the execs, all of the C-suite is gone, the board of directors is gone, so all of this comes straight from him. He's the one person in charge of Twitter, and we know that Musk is a terrible boss. He's even said so himself. So I will go out on a limb here and make a prediction. Musk's layoffs will fail to cut costs at Twitter. They will, in fact, end up costing Twitter more money than they save. Additionally, there is no way they can create new revenue streams in time to compensate for the shortfall and pay off the huge new debt that Musk has loaded the company down with. So there is every risk that this could go down in history as one of the biggest failed corporate acquisitions ever, and Twitter might not be around or might be sold off for peanuts in a year or so. We'll see.